This video explores a social concept often referred to as white fear. This is not about blaming or attacking individuals. It's about understanding a pattern discussed in sociology, history, and psychology, so we can reduce fear, improve communication across communities, and imagine a healthier future for everyone. What is white fear? In academic and social discussions, white fear is a term sometimes used to describe anxiety among some white Americans about perceived loss of status, safety, cultural identity, or economic security as society changes. It's important to say this clearly. White people are not a monolith. Not all white individuals experience this fear, and those who do experience it for different reasons. This fear is not the same as hate. Fear is an emotional response. How people act on fear is what determines whether harm occurs. Why does white fear exist? To understand why this fear exists, we have to look at history and social context. Key contributing factors. Historical dominance. For much of U.S. history, white Americans held disproportionate political, economic, and social power. Rapid social change. Civil rights movements, immigration, and demographic shifts can feel destabilizing to people who were taught that stability meant sameness. Economic insecurity, job loss, automation, and rising costs often get blamed on social groups rather than systems. Narratives and media. Some political messaging and media outlets amplify fear by framing diversity as threat rather than reality. When people are told, explicitly or subtly, that equality means loss, fear becomes a predictable response. Actions taken because of white fear. Fear doesn't stay internal, it shapes behavior, policies, and culture. Examples include support for exclusionary or restrictive laws, resistance to integration in housing or schools, over-policing or suspicion of non-white communities, voting driven by fear-based messaging, social withdrawal or hostility toward cultural change. These actions often feel like self-protection to those experiencing fear, but they can create real harm and deepen mistrust across racial lines. Educating non-white communities about this fear. Understanding fear does not mean excusing harmful behavior, but education can reduce cycles of misunderstanding. Ways to educate constructively. Name systems, not individuals. Focus on history and structures, not personal blame. Explain emotional roots. Fear of loss, irrelevance, or instability is human, even when misdirected. Avoid mockery or dismissal. Ridiculing fear hardens it. Center shared needs. Safety, dignity, opportunity, and belonging are universal desires. When non-white communities understand that fear often comes from insecurity rather than superiority, it becomes easier to respond strategically instead of emotionally. Solutions to white fear. Reducing white fear requires effort at multiple levels. Individual level. Honest education about history that includes both injustice and progress. Exposure to diversity through real relationships, not stereotypes. Learning that equality is not a zero-sum game. Community level. Integrated schools and neighborhoods. Open, facilitated conversations across racial lines. Media that humanizes rather than sensationalizes institutional level. Fair economic policies that reduce scarcity-based competition. Leadership that rejects fear-based rhetoric. Accountability for discrimination paired with education. The goal is not to shame fear away, but to replace fear with understanding, security, and shared purpose. A future America without white fear. Imagine an America where white fear no longer shapes decisions. In this future, diversity is seen as normal, not threatening. Political debates focus on solutions, not scapegoats. Communities invest in each other instead of guarding territory. Policing prioritizes safety and trust over suspicion. Cultural differences are approached with curiosity, not anxiety. In this America, identity is not erased, it's expanded. People are secure enough to coexist without fear of disappearance. Fear thrives in isolation and misinformation. Understanding where fear comes from and how it operates gives us the power to reduce its influence. A future without white fear isn't about one group losing. It's about everyone gaining the freedom to live without anxiety, suspicion, or division. Understanding reduces fear. Education creates possibility. We are one America. Presented for educational and discussion purposes only.